limelight when soon after independence, founding President Jomo Kenyatta appointed him Director of Settlement to oversee the implementation of the 1 million acre settlement scheme meant to create homes for more than 1 million Kenyans whose land had been grabbed by the colonialists. Wanjigi joined active politics when contest in the November 1969 Kamukunji constituency by-election occasioned by the assassination of Tom Mboya, the eloquent right-wing minister for planning. The former MP takes credit for initiating and developing the expansive open-air Gikomba market in his constituency. Another project that he took pride in was helping to establish the Juekali informal business sector in Shauri Moyo. In a speech he delivered in Parliament in June 1973, Wanjigi advocated for free primary school education for all, something the country would realize 30 years later. In 1970, founding President Jomo Kenyatta appointed Wanjigi Assistant Minister in the Ministry of Agriculture headed by Bruce Mackenzie. In 1976, Wanjigi was among politicians opposed to the Change the Constitution debate meant to bar the then Vice President Daniel Moi from being the automatic President Kenyatta's successor. In the 1979 general election, the first under President Moi, Wanjigi lost his seat to Nicholas Gore, who was the former chairman of the Luo Union in Nairobi. In December 1979, President Moi appointed Wanjigi chairman of Kenya Airways. When President Moi restructured his cabinet following a snap election in 1983 in an effort to solidify his authority, in view of the 1982 attempted coup, he appointed Wanjigi to the cabinet as Minister for Tourism and Wildlife. Wanjigi had recaptured his Kamukunji parliamentary seat in the snap elections. It was during his time in the ministry that the dream to have Kenya receive 1 million tourists by 1988 was unveiled. This would, however, not happen until 2010, 22 years after Wanjigi's projected date. Wanjigi was moved to the Ministry of Public Works and Housing. In another cabinet reshuffle, Moi moved Wanjigi to the Ministry of Cooperative Development. Working closely with Permanent Secretary Andrew Ligale and Commissioner for Cooperatives Erastus Moreithi, he led the ministry in establishing savings and credit cooperative societies across the sector and countrywide. It was during his tenure that Cooperative Bank was launched. Wanjigi was then transferred to the Ministry of Agriculture, where he had cut his teeth as a young professional in the 1960s. In 1990, he was expelled from the ruling party KANU during the clamor for multi-party politics in 1990. Then presumed an enemy of the President Moi regime, Wanjigi was arrested, interrogated and held at the Langata police station for 3 days before being taken to court. No charges were preferred against him. When Section 2A of the Constitution was repealed, Wanjigi entered an unfamiliar arena of opposition politics and joined Kenneth Matiba's Forda Silly faction of the original Forum for the Restoration of Democracy Ford Party. He and others in the opposition tried to bring together Matiba and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga's Ford factions in order to defeat KANU in the 1992 general election. When these failed, he and others took over the Kenya National Congress KNC party in the hope that it would hold the middle ground that ostensibly sensible politicians from both factions would turn to and eventually turn the tables on KANU. But the politicians from both sides of the Ford divide stood their ground and KNC was thrown out of the political contest. Wanjigi vied for the Kamukunji seat on a KNC party ticket and lost coming fourth. The seat was won by Forda Silly's George Nthenge. In 1997, Wanjigi moved to his home base of Mathioya constituency in Nyeri district to vie on a Forda Silly ticket. The incumbent was KANU Secretary General Joseph Kamotho. Both were badly defeated by the hitherto unknown Ford People candidate Francis Githiari. Wanjigi bowed out of politics and focused on his business empire under the umbrella of Kwacha Group of Companies. He was also the chairman of the SOS Children's Home Program in Kenya for 25 years. Reporting for the Cabinet, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Welcome back. We are glad you are still keeping us company. We want to continue with the day's programming. And in case you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya. You are right in time for our second conversation on our Family Check segment. Today, we will be focusing on post-election stress or trauma, whichever word you choose to use. So we welcome you to be part of this conversation. We are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. My handle is Jane Wamboy. You are welcome to send in questions or comments that you may be having in regards to this conversation. Now, with us in studio to help with this conversation, we have Dr. Geoffrey Wango. He is a counseling psychologist and also a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Good morning, Dr. and welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you for making time to be with us today.
Thank you.
All right, so you were in studio when we were having that previous conversation, and
yes.
You saw how heated it was. So here now we are, a week later after
yes.
the elections, we
yes.
got the results, but now we're still in that phase.
Exactly.
Let's, first of all,
yes.
looking at elections
yes.
in itself, why is it important for so many people?
Thank you very much. It's nice to give it a psychological angle.
Yes.
First of all, politics is, I always start by telling people we need to define politics because we don't define it. Politics is the way we are governed. It's about who governs us, who is in charge.
Yes.
But you see, that comes with a lot of emotions, unfortunately. Because politics comes with emotions. We want our person to win. If you remember last time, I kept saying there were 16,100 candidates. Very interesting.
Yes.
And the political seats were 1,882. So that technically means that 14,218 we are going to lose.
Imagine that.
Imagine. And then the next part is I checked in two of the MCAs, there were 24 people vying for the seats. 24. So that technically means that only one was going to win. In about 2 or 3 of them, there were 17 MPs. So you see, this now makes politics a very tense moment. In Kenya, we talk about, let me try the US to reduce the tension. The stress levels in the US and in Europe is 50%.
Yes.
That's why I was trying to reduce the tension, because in our countries, low and middle income countries, the tension is 60 to 70%.
And what's this relationship that we always see? Just looking at the example of the elections that we had,
yes.
after we went to the polls, we voted, then that waiting period, everyone was so on edge.
Exactly.
Anxiety levels
yes.
up. Others were even going as far as sinking into depression.
Yes.
But what is this relationship that triggers this psychological effect on people that stem from politics and elections specifically?
Asante, that's a very nice statement you've put there. That what really happens with us is, especially now, this is why we need to distinguish clearly between the more developed countries, the Europe and America, and we call them low and middle income countries.
Yes.
Africa, Kenya, of course, we are there, Asia. What happens is that the stakes are much more. You see, in Africa and in our country, we believe that when Waboi, my kinsmate, becomes president, I will gain. Fortunately for us, we have one of the most comprehensive constitutions, and it tried to come up with devolution and divide the country into 47 counties to sort of reduce this tension. But unfortunately, there is the tribal perspective where we believe that my person must win. My person is the person whom I want, who comes from my tribe or ethnic group, if I may say so. And this now brings in two people. The two people are the politicians and the followers. The politicians beat up the drums, and they beat up the drums so that you come in, and the followers follow. And now this takes you to another bigger level, which now makes it even more critical. Elections involve a lot of aspects: finances, emotions, and all that. I was trying to do a bit of a survey how much people were using. I was shocked. I was told one of the governors used, I don't know how to say it, about 2 billion to campaign. Some of them are using 200 million. Some of the MPs have used 30 million. I'm saying this because I receive a lot of calls from people who are distressed. One of them was calling me because of the brother who had used 200 million and was saying, we are all heartbroken. But now the question is, where does this money come from? And how are you hoping to recover this money? You see, now politics now becomes too intense. You see, so all this investment in terms of finances, the spiritual, you also go to church to be worshipped, or to be prayed for, so that you can win. So all this now becomes very tensed. Now, what happens with all this tension and anxiety, and then you lose? You see, so you've actually come from a stage of a lot of stress here and distress to you are becoming frustrated, disappointed, and you are moving towards depression. You see, despair. You start losing hope. And that's what happens that's why one of the people who have really done very well in Kenya, and we really thank the media and the Kenyans, the win in this instance were the Kenyans who kept their peace and their pace and waited. And the media was very good. The media has been saying, vote and go home and wait for the results. Vote and go home and wait for the results. But people don't even want the 7 days to wait.
Yeah. And those are some of the things that, I'd like for you to tell us more about when it comes to how this waiting period
yes.
and the stresses that it was consequently having on the people, how was it manifesting? Because we've talked about anxiety, which I believe everyone at some point can relate with. But what are other those symptoms or signs that maybe we were manifesting these stress levels that we could not probably be aware to or alive to?
Thank you very much. Actually, you've reminded me one friend of mine who called me at 3 a.m. at night. Of course, I couldn't take the phone, so I was asleep, but I could see the phone ringing. So I wake up the next day and the person is telling me, okay, my candidate is losing. And I remember making a joke and saying, switch on to the channel where your candidate is winning. You see, the idea here is that everyone wants to win. And this creates, and we become fixed on our TVs. I know several friends of mine who used to spend the night in the table room as they watch the TV. You see, that's the tension. And that tension comes with it a lot of anger, and by the way, that now that you've said it, which is very good, it's good to start seeing those who are highly disturbed.
How it was manifesting.
How it's manifested. And one of them is the sitting. You find someone there seated with their Masai reso, waiting for the results.
Lack of sleep.
Yes, insomnia, lack of sleep.
Yeah.
And this person spends we voted on 9th. And the person was still there on Monday.
Still waiting.
Still waiting. And then this person, there's a lot of anger. You see, most of these people are very angry. You even try to switch off from one channel to the other. Remember, the children were home. They wanted to watch the cartoons. Or those who are lucky, they have an extra TV in the bedroom. And you are quarreling with the children, all of them. Why are you switching off the TV? You don't sleep. The intensity. Because, of course, what happens to the body is that at one point, the body sleeps automatically because, you see, it's too exhausted.
Yeah.
But then there are other things. I could go also for the candidates. The candidates are the ones who are most annoyed. I remember giving an example of one who went to vote in this polling station. Very interesting. And this man has the wife and child. As a wife, he himself and the wife, they have 4 children. That morning, 2 children say they are not going to they don't have the voter's card. So he goes with his 2 children. He has neighbors and he has relatives. And he has his church members, with due respect. And he only got 2 votes in that particular polling station. So now, you see, the anger now becomes so much that everyone, including the home, in this house there were 2. There's only one person who voted for me. If the person voted. And then you are also angry with the community. Why didn't you vote for me? You lock the gate, you are quarreling with everyone. And in some instances, some of them corrupts, by the way, just after the announcement. We have several, we don't want to name them, who corrupts, and of course they were taken to hospital because they can't believe the results. But so you see, the effect becomes from the physical to the psychological. The psychological part is where we need to take a bit of time, because that anxiety and distress can make the person so uncomfortable that it brings in other illnesses because of the body's functioning. That's why you see that politicians, with due respect, those who are not careful, they end up with diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, and related illnesses because of the stress is too much. And the money now, back now again to the money, that's why I started with the politicians. How do you recover your money? You had sold your 2 pieces of land, you got a loan from a few people. So now you need to recover it back. But of course you can't recover it because you've already lost. So the tension increases. And that's why you see at the worst, unfortunately, it can lead to suicide if the depression continues. And that's why we need these politicians, that's why I started with them, to start going back to their lives. There's one I was talking to, and he was very objective. I really was very happy. He told me that by 8 a.m. on 9th, not the counting, on 9th, he knew he had lost. I was very happy. He told me by 8, he reached the police station. Nobody was looking at him in the eye. They were avoiding him. The ones with the cars would come and say, well, my car is not very well parked. So he noticed there was a lot of discrepancy between what they were telling him. And he called me by about 9 and he told me things are not good. I told him, well, I had prepared you for this and I told you that you don't have to win. And he's doing very well with the wife and family. They went home, prayed. And in fact, he told them, let's not even wait for the result. I know the result. And actually, shockingly enough, none of his friends were calling him. So he already knew the results. So the politicians need to start coming up with this. But let's now go to the bigger number of us, the voters. If I was right, there were 22,000 registered voters.
22 million.
22 million. Thank you, yes. 120,458. I think those are the ones we need also to take care of. Okay, let's begin maybe perhaps with the ones who say they have won. Okay, they have won. Now, winning is a very difficult word because winning is relative. You have won what? Because what will you get? And those who are celebrating, thank you for celebrating and thank you for hooting and everything you are doing. But I want you to remember, there are those who lost. So do it with moderation. Be considerate of the others. I mean, even if you tell me I was defeated, okay, tell me I was defeated, but also buy me a cup of tea so that I can. But then when we go to those who feel they did not lose, there's something we need to remember. First of all, our lives belong to God. The country belongs to God. This politics is, I mean, 9th was only one day. The world was not going to get on 9th. I don't know why some of us think that the world ended on 9th. No, we simply voted and we went back home. By the way, we have families, we have work. And I like the way you told me that when I came to the studio, I found you going on. I mean, life is going on. We have children to take back to school. We have school fees to pay. And we have Christmas coming.
Now, I want us to actually talk about children.
Yes.
Because one, they had to leave schools a week early. Abruptly, again to enable the preparation of the election day itself. Then came, we voted, they were supposed to go back 2 days after the elections, but they didn't. It was pushed again. And now here we are, most of them are reporting to school today. Now, looking at this entire election period, children constitute a big chunk of the entire Kenyan population, but only their parents and those 18 years and above are allowed to vote. So how then do we communicate all this that is happening in the country in a way that they can understand? Because they are seeing. They can see, but maybe they don't understand, but they're also feeling the consequences of this politicking by being away from school. How do we communicate this in a healthy way that they understand?
Oh, wonderful. That's a very nice thing, especially for the family and children. The first one is what we have done as Kenyans. We have kept peace. For the first time, we are telling children, we are saying, let us go back to our lives. That is very, very significant for the children. So the children can see we are adults. This is how adults behave. Adult, you see, we can't tell our children that, I keep telling people I'm a fan of Arsenal. We are always being defeated. I don't know why we don't perform very well. By the way, now we have seen that in the Premier League, they should put a channel for Arsenal so that we can be switching on to where we are winning. So we don't lose every time. So we need to tell, the parents need to pass this to the children. That there are some adults doing some voting, and it's very healthy, and voting is also important. By the way, the Ministry of Education had started some ways of leadership in schools, so that even the children can understand it. We also need to show the children how we should behave. With due respect, by the way, most of the politicians have behaved very well. Let us also congratulate them, because the idea is for the children to learn that this is how adults behave. Why? Adults copy our behavior. We shape them. So when they see us fighting, and shouting and the kind of insult we are doing on TV and on the social media, by the way, the word is, they think that is how adults behave. So they are actually waiting to get there. Now, the other thing is when they go to school, we need to be very careful as parents. We need to tell them that this is a process where we want to select the leaders. These are the leaders we selected. Somehow we did not select these other leaders for one reason or another.
Okay.
And then we start normalizing the process. Remember these children, I like the way you've brought up the children. They've just come from the COVID break and they suffered.
Yeah.
They didn't even know why they were home. And we kept coming to the media and telling parents, tell your children that there's a danger out there. Although you can't see it, it's very serious. So the children can relax.
Okay.
Then we need to do the same with the politics. We need to tell them that we are going through a political process. We are trying to argue among ourselves how to lead this country. But I think also we should tell our leaders that they should deliver to the children.
Okay.
Yes, but yes, so that they can bring them better health, better education, better facilities,
yes,
so the children can understand, I was home for 1 week so that I can get ABCD.
All right. Now, speaking of leaders themselves, you had mentioned earlier, of course, there are winners and losers in every election. But looking at those that did not manage to be elected, why is it important for people to see them actually publicly conceding and saying, I understand I lost and I congratulate this and the other person for the win, in order to enable even the people who were supporting them to actually move on with this other leader that was elected? Importance of public conceding.
Oh yeah, but that's a very important point. You see, we need to understand what is competition. You see, remember I have used the word developing and developed countries. Many people think that we are being negative. We are actually trying to do some consideration. In the more developed countries, they would like to say, this is a contest. It's the Manchester Arsenal. We put it there. Let everyone see. And that's the first thing. We need institutions that actually put it that me and Waboy contested, and Waboy won with 498 votes, and I had 20,000. Seriously speaking, even if I'm going to court, I don't know how 20,000 will be converted to 498. There are clear issues that you can see, number one. Then there are others that are not so clear. Let's accept the second part. And those ones are the ones who need to go to court. But then even before that, I like the way you put it. We need to tell the leaders that they need to come up and say, there's a contest. I can win, you can win. And this has been done in very many other areas, by the way.
Yeah.
One of them is in boxing. I don't know whether you've ever seen in the boxing matches, they bring the two contestants and they sit together and they even discuss how they are going to go and have a contest. And at the end, they tell each other, you who has been defeated, wave at the other one. That's the kind of thing we need to bring to this country. We need to stop this. The World AIDS on 9th of August. You know that thing is like on 9th, after 9th at 6. On 10th, we are not going to wake up.
It's a do or die situation.
It's a do or die situation. The leaders need to change it. They need to say, even if I'm defeated, tomorrow let's meet. Even because being defeated doesn't mean that tomorrow you will not win. And also, we need the country also needs to have more clearer policies so that we can say that this is what you are doing, this is what you cannot do. But then now again, there's the social media where everyone is enjoying you, especially after you've been defeated, or everyone is trying to applaud themselves to say that I won. I was listening to your program and others in the morning. And the way everyone is Chepukati with due respect to IBC, everyone announces results. I don't know, even friends, they actually call you to tell you this is the winner. They are also the media.
Yeah.
You see, I think it's time we told Kenyans that we can't be everything at the same time. We can't be the voters, we are the ones counting, we are the media reporting, we are the police guarding the votes. I mean, we can't be everything. And that's why the tension increases. But in the more developed countries, what they do is that they sort of make these laws very clear. And that's why this time Kenya has done very well. And we should thank all Kenyans. We should also thank the politicians. But the media has done a lot. The media kept saying, after you have voted, go home and sit down. You know, it's a very simple thing. Why are you on the streets announcing the winner?
No, much as we are still in this period, because we are yet to have the president to be sworn in after this 14-day period,
Yes.
when it comes to healthy coping mechanisms that people can adopt to help them journey through this phase, because we are not yet done. We don't know how
Yes.
long it
Thank
will
you.
last. So what healthy coping mechanisms would you advise our viewers this morning to pick up to help them deal with this anxiety or even body aches that they could be dealing with from stress relating to these elections?
I like that, body aches. You know why I like that? It's this 1 week has been hectic for me. With everyone calling me, one of my friends was actually couldn't move out from the bed because he lost. Of course, he was not even contesting, by the way. It's the candidate who lost. And when the wife called me and I went and found him on the bed, sincerely speaking, it's by the way, it's personal. You can actually, he couldn't move.
It takes a big toll.
Yeah, it had taken too much of a toll. So I asked him, okay, so you're a candidate. I don't like politicizing so much. So I asked him, so now you're a candidate, but you're not contesting yourself, yes. So why are you so sick? I can't wake up. So you can see these signs: refusing to eat, refusing to sleep, a lot of irritation, quarreling with. Now I was asking him, now why are you quarreling with your wife, by the way? Because she was not even in the ballot. So what we need to tell people is the easiest coping mechanism, first of all, is to get correct information. Back to the media. I mean, you have been on social media, misinformation, disinformation.
Yes.
You've been picking the wrong thing from the wrong person. You see, you don't even know who is contesting. You don't know the number of voters. You don't know, there are 20 candidates. You are hoping that all of them will win. So the information becomes very, very important. This is the number, this is the person, people who win, and this is what happens. The disinformation is when people revert. I don't know what we've seen today on social media. Everyone knows the judgment of the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And none of them is a judge, incidentally. None of them is even a lawyer. These are the things people should stay a bit away from. And then they go for credit media houses so that you get the results. You get what is going on at the Supreme Court. Then another thing, very, very important, is prayer and meditation. The worst thing is to forget to say your prayer and your meditation. A bit of exercises, you know, it helps. I was on radio last week, and I told the presenter that when the announcements were being done on Monday at about 5, I was watering my flowers. I was actually doing some gardening. It's very important for you to have your hobby. And she said, that was a very important announcement. I said, it was. But also my health is important. I can't sit for 3 hours waiting for results. Some people start from 1 to 6. Yeah, so you agree. Yes. From midday, you've been seated there. You've just been taking a cup of tea. You run to the toilet and back. You are busy taking some chips. You can't even cook good food. You need a good diet to cope with stress. And then you're not even going for an exercise. So I was asking, why couldn't you have come out, go for jogging, okay, at between 1 and 3, then you come back, of course. Then if you find the announcement not done, you go and take a shower, and then you cook some good food, then you come and wait. We need to tell people to go back to normal ways of living. We actually call them activities of daily living. Activities of daily living means go back to work, your exercises, your hobbies. Look for a pet. By the way, did you know keeping a pet is very nice? Just a pet, a small pet. If you can't keep a horse, then you can keep a cat. And then you also pick things you can do, like gardening, simple gardening. We are not telling you to have a plantation of sisal such, or coffee. But you can even do a bit of 1 or 2 flowers. You can also do simpler things. Like, if people say they can't do, but they notice that I'm not selecting for the person. You can even do the easiest one, a skipping loop. I mean, a skipping loop, it will not cost you so much. So that in the even you just do a bit of exercises, you jump a bit, it reduces your stress. Now with collecting information and doing this and going back to your work, you start noticing that you're going back to normal. You are actually dealing with the stress, and you remember remember what I keep saying. 9th was not the end of the world, and there's something very interesting that we should tell Kenyans. We voted on 9th. That is when someone won or lost. The elections were being announced. What we are receiving are the results. But the people think that we are voted. We voted on 9th. We finished. So whatever is going on now is the results, the preliminaries, whether the Supreme Court, what can be determined. So we are now picking the therapeutic part.
Okay.
Yes, and so now we are even asking first, what can you do? Who won? We are taking a cup of tea together. We are chatting with each other. We are saying we are now back to work. We are now even starting to ask. I was looking at the media over the weekend, and the media started saying, what are Kenyans expecting from everyone? You see, we now go to expectations. That's how, and by the way, that's what makes Kenya so remarkable. Look at what has happened in Kenya. With due respect, different from 2007. Everyone is smiling. And we need to smile at each other. You know when you smile, whether do you know smiling is so good. It makes your whole body relax. When you say a prayer to God, you relax.
Yes. Now, still looking at this phase that we are in, again, as you rightfully put it, elections were just on the 9th. But the aftermath is felt by so many people on a grander scale. So from a psychological point of standing, how long should this phase last? And if you find yourself still having stresses that are related to this election, at what point should you seek further assistance to help you get out of this pit? Looking at the elections being over, but you are still feeling maybe depressed or anxious about the elections.
Asante, what wonderful comment you put there. Let's do the two. The ones who won, like the people like, okay, you won. Oh, fine. Okay, you are there. Fine. You need to go back to your life. Full stop.
Yes.
If you are there, if you are my member of parliament, you notice I stay away from politics to make everyone comfortable. If you're my MCA, fine, thank you. You're watching me. Thank you. We need that small load done down there. So
back to work.
Back to work. Now let's go to the ones who lost.
Yes.
In psychology, we look at loss as a loss. A loss is a loss. If with due respect you lost your phone, and God forbid, you go through 5 processes, and that's the same thing that goes with elections. The first thing is the denial. No, it didn't. Those are not the results. By the way, do you know that is very normal? Let's tell people that is true. You're denying. No, akushindwa. That's okay. It's sikushindwa. It's all right. Then the second, after the denial, you go to anger. I can't believe you even start banging,
getting physical, aggressive.
Yeah, thank you. And you can see it. If you check any of the people who have lost the elections, either the voters or the loser, the politicians, you see this. And that's why sometimes that's why we also we tell the police when they find some of these people throwing a few stones, you talk to them, tell them,
restore order.
Tell them, yeah, please, okay, you have thrown 2-3 stones, but do you know you can injure someone? Okay, and the person you are going to injure is also like crying like you. So that is the anger. Then you, after, and this process, let's be sincere, it is a process. And I like the way you put it. It's a process. It is true. It's a process. Then that one, you go to the bargaining. Okay, now, okay, my MCA has, okay, I lost my 20 million. You bargain with yourself. After that, you go to something we call depression. Of course, you go down. There's a frustration. You see those D's are not very good. After frustrations, you go towards like disappointment, despair, depression.
Yeah.
When you move to depression, immediately you reach depression, you are not doing very well. You need to be very careful, because after that you move to the worst you can move to is suicide, and that is very serious. So when you start reaching there, which is very normal, I mean, all of us get depressed in a short while. Yeah, I mean, you wanted to be in town by 10, you are not. Then now you move to the most important step, which is acceptance. Even with the death, by the way, we use the same for political or election anxiety, political anxiety. We use the same for loss of any kind. A loss is a loss. Even when your boyfriend or girlfriend, for those who are watching, runs away from you, which sometimes they do, you go through the 5. But then now, when you reach to acceptance, you start coping. You start noticing this road is not going anywhere. How long can this take? Some people are very fast. Some people are very poor.
Okay.
Depending on the resilience, depending on what they have lost. And the resilience can be built. You can build your resilience. You can build your resilience by saying, this is what has happened, this is where you need to move. I have a family, I need to say my prayer, I need to do my meditation.
All right. So as you can see, it is a process that naturally has to take place in order for the next to actually evolve. So if you find yourself in a space where maybe you were in denial, then you got angry, then you got you went through depression,
then you started bargaining,
depression, and then you finally accept. Elections come and go. It is a time for you to exercise your democratic right as an adult citizen in the Kenyan Republic. For now, we're going to pause at that particular point. This has been just looking at the post-election period, the post-election stresses that we could all be experiencing in one form, shape, way or the other. But again, we are here to help you navigate through this time until we get to a point where the next government is fully in office and ready to keep up the going. For now, we have been speaking with Dr. Geoffrey Wango. He is a counseling psychologist and also a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate you coming through.
Thank you.
All right, so that is that from Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for being with us. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning. My name is Jane Wamboy. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Chonga fuyasi wewe. Na isitoshe utaosha hata vyombo.
Mimi nioshe vyombo mimi?
Hata unacheza.
Mwanaume mzima nioshe vyombo kwa sababu ya kula chakula ya hoteli hii mimi. Wait.
Mogaka.
Kwa ofisi. Tangu lini mnaekea mimi michele hivi kama patko? Chukua nyama rudisha huko.
Mimi unapenda kusumbua sasa.
Sipendi kusumbua na leta bwana.
Kwa mtu mimi nataka uchafue.
Nani nione kaja jema yake sasa hivi.
Be aware that you had nothing to do with that.
But I wasn't able to do anything to save them.